Hello, you are watching the MA Module 6 Clinic video training for MA109 Hematology. So this course is actually a really fun course. I think the majority of instructors look forward to this module in this course, as well as a lot of students. Keep in mind that this is a module where we're going to be in direct contact with bodily fluids, and our student safety and our faculty safety is of the utmost importance to Ross. We want to make sure that everybody is following the proper protocols and steps in order to keep themselves from exposure. Really make sure you're spending some time with your students, explaining the importance of wearing proper PPE and correct, careful disposal of any used needles from this module. This module is going to require students to work in the Medical Assisting Fundamentals book. They're going to be in Chapter 43, Assisting in Blood Collection, Chapter 44, Assisting in the Analysis of Blood, and Chapter 45, Assisting in Microbiology and Immunology in the mono-testing section only. Students will be using Simtex, which is the web-based student simulation program for proficiency practice. They will also be using Ross Edge, and they will be in the Student Success Section 5 Time Management section. This course, proficiencies, are performing venipuncture. They're going to be collecting blood in a variety of ways. The first proficiency will be collecting a venous blood sample using a vacuum tube method. They're going to collect a venous blood sample using blood syringe method. And last would be obtaining a venous sample with a safety wing butterfly assembly. They will also be performing a capillary puncture. They will be performing a microhematocrit test in hematology with the tiny microhematocrit tubes, as well as a hemoglobin test using a hemoglobinometer. They will be practicing performing blood glucose testing with their capillary punctures, as well as performing a mononucleosis test. And last but not least, they are going to be practicing preparing slides for a blood smear. Things that we need to keep in mind while proficiencies are being done and preparing for proficiencies would be that we are going to be always using safety needles. No needle without a safety needle is allowed item in Ross. We are going to be checking equipment, making sure that the centrifuges and the hemoglobinometers are in good working condition, that we have all the supplies we need for these tests that are current and not expired. Students that are performing a mono test will only get one mono test per student. These are quite expensive. So do a good job in reviewing this test with students before they actually attempt the mono test. Students will also only get 2 hemoglobin test cuvettes to use for the hemoglobin testing. Students will be required to do butterfly venipuncture. I would like to limit their butterfly use to 2 to 3 butterflies per student. It's a suggestion that students try a hand draw in this module. It's best if they have to do a hand draw, that their very first hand draw is with the support of their instructor and fellow students, then out in the workplace on their own. It is not a proficiency, but it's highly encouraged that you get them to try that with you. We do not want to be practicing any of the glucose monotesting or hematocrit hemoglobin testing before it is mentioned in the lesson plan. Supply use is should be at the forefront of your mind. Yes, we want our students prepared. Yes, we want to provide them with what they need. But no, we do not want to have unlimited supplies used in this module. Any known pregnants, they are able to have their blood drawn unless they have a note from their physician contraindicating that they have blood drawn in venipuncture. And that would go for any student. If any student has a signed letter from the doctor excusing them from having blood drawn on them, then that would be a reason that they could just perform venipuncture, but not have venipuncture performed on them. And then occasionally we do have a student who has a blood clotting disorder and cannot participate. That does not excuse them from performing venipuncture on other people and passing the course. We have equipment that we use to help students become comfortable with venipuncture, and those would be the venipuncture arms. Each clinic has 2 venipuncture arms with vein tubing inside. Instructors are to hook up those arms to a liquid water supply. Fake blood is not used at Ross. It is not necessary. These are practice draws, and water will give them the same feel as blood entering into the tube. The fake blood is costly and messy and clogs up the arms and is not an approved part of this program. If you have a very large class, please work with your campus supervision to have a teacher's assistant assist you in helping students with their practice draws and their proficiency draws. Here is an example of the shell that you'll be using in Canvas. It is set up the same as all the other 4 shells. This shell includes a bloodborne pathogens section. There's a bloodborne pathogens video for you to show, or you can access your Stericycle instructor website and show that portion of the video as a backup in case this video is not working properly. Brand new students are required to sign the universal precautions form and upload it back here to Canvas. Again, make sure that they are saving it with a new name or it'll come up blank when they save it. I suggest just for this module that all students have a refresher and watch a video once again together as a class. This is a good time for you to reiterate how important it is to follow universal precautions. Always keep your students calm when they have needles in their hands. Manage your classroom well. Make sure that you only have a few students up that are participating in the blood draw procedure at a time. Do not allow a crowd of students to surround the students who are practicing. It causes chaos, drama, and it's hard for you to control and make sure that needles are being used properly. The texts are available as usual in the shell. Any websites, all your student resources, again, make sure they're clicking on their resources so they have access to SharePath and the other resources they'll need for this module. Go over the syllabi to make sure that they understand the syllabi and how the course is going to flow. There are 3 row assignments for this course, as well as an ICA section that you can choose to use or not use, depending on your time and discretion. Here are the Simtex simulations the students will use. The Simtex simulations are required. They are not optional. These should be introduced to students early in the module, and then students should be highly encouraged to practice these in class and outside of class as often as possible. As they practice these, they will get a complete or incomplete for the practice. They will also get a grade with these exact proficiencies later in the module. If they are following your advice and practicing these often, the tests that they have to do will be easily passed. And it's okay to tell them that. Okay, the days are going to match the lesson plan. Make sure you are reading the lesson plan, you are reading the chapters, you are going through each one of the assignments, making yourself familiar with what students will have to complete, and the tests that they will have to answer, the test questions they will have to answer. There are embedded videos in the module for you to show, to help with explanation and to give visuals to students on procedures. Here's an example of the days. There's a venipuncture test on day 6, as well as a hematology test on day 10. Day 10 is the day that you will perform the day in the office and make sure all the proficiencies are completed and that the documentation is uploaded. It's a really good idea not to let students pick their own partners all the time. Find a way to have students pick partners for venipuncture. I'm telling you this because from past experience, students will pick only their friends, or they will pick students who have really big giant veins that are easy to draw from, and that really isn't giving them the experience that they need in order to pass their blood draw proficiencies. I have a cup with numbers in it that students will choose a different student every day to choose partners from. There are a variety of ways that you can do it. Make sure that you're mixing up partners. It always seems like somebody feels bad and is left out if students get to pick their own. And if you're constantly picking partners, then some students will complain that you are showing favoritism to certain people, and that's not a good idea either. I know that this is this module is very challenging as far as time frame goes. You'll be working with the administrative instructor to make sure that especially your hybrid students are getting the time in that they need to finish all of their coursework. Make sure that you're working closely with your campus supervision and your administrative instructor. While students are performing venipuncture, you will have the majority of your students waiting to get up to the blood draw stations. This is a good time to encourage especially your hybrid students to work on getting work done that they may not have time for while they're in class on the administrative side. If you get them finished with their proficiency practice first, then that may free up some time for them to meet with their administrative instructor. So there are some options for you. You will need the microscopes in this module. Just get out a few. I think it's always interesting to have the instructor create a slide of blood with a cover slip so that students can see the actual blood cells moving around. Students will also be creating their blood smears, and it's kind of fun for them to look at that smear, that slide under the microscope. Any documentation that has to be done in this module, excuse me, from procedures can be done on the sim chart. This may be an opportunity for your students to use sim chart in the clinic setting, or you may be able to set up some time for students to complete their documentation on sim chart while they're in the administrative class. I hope that this module was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please reach out to your supervisor or myself. We'll make sure that you have whatever you need to help this module run smoothly. And with that, thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day.